Coming back for my second session. I've actually been itching to get back to this game. Like, I want to keep poking at it. It's just fun to unravel something. I do enjoy games that just kind of like, I compare them to like untangling a big knot, basically, just trying to figure out like what the hell's going on with the shape of it all. They have an ad here on the main page for the incident at Galley House and how it's like a remaster sort of a not very old game. In fact, it's literally a game that in the description says it was inspired by the Rootrees Are Dead. That's how not old it is. But it's like a game without visuals, and they're redoing it on Steam with visuals. And I'm like, and that led to me remembering like, oh right, because I was making the thumbnail and stuff like for this game, and I'm like, oh right, the Rootrees Are Dead used to look really different. Because it used to kind of look like photos of people and so on. Like the three sisters looked like completely different people. And it's because this was originally an itch.io game, an itch.io game, with a bit of a different art style and so on. And then they came out like 2003, I think. And then the Steam version came out in 2005 with these new like paintings or whatever's going on here. So it's like the new art style, new presentation for a game that came out a few years ago. And that's the only version that most people know, probably. But yeah, I do remember seeing it on Steam ages ago. I mean, on itch.io ages ago, and it already being recommended around back then. And it's just, actually, it kind of shook me a little bit. I'm like, damn, this game's been on my to-do list for way longer than I remember. That's almost upsetting. Let's see. I immediately went for WASD. The keyboard's not relevant. Well, I type with the keyboard. All right, so we'll see if I can solve the shit that's fucked. Oh, these are locked in. That is definitely her, so that's definitely her. So I was right about which sister was which in that photo. That's good to know. But yeah, it's a funny little game. I was posting about it earlier today, where I was like, it's really interesting because it gives you all those fun puzzle game tinglies that you enjoy about puzzle games. So I'm having a good time with it, but it is kind of hilarious how artificial it is and how like nakedly artificial it is as far as like its theming goes and whatnot. And it's like, because like its influences are Return of the Obra Dinn and maybe The Case of the Golden Idol, which itself was inspired by Return of the Obra Dinn pretty directly. But Return of the Obra Dinn is a game made by the creator of Papers, Please, where you're trying to solve what happened to a bunch of people, like trying to solve what happened to each member of the crew of a ship, and with that, when the ship itself was like found abandoned and didn't make it to its destination and so on. And you're kind of like, you're like a supernatural insurance claims guy. Like you have a magic stopwatch or pocket watch that lets you see the final few seconds and hear, well, primarily you hear the final few seconds of someone's life, then you see a frozen snapshot of the exact moment they died, essentially, and you can like walk around it like a 3D space in a sort of matrixy sort of vibe. That might not be the best comparison. Like you just walk around in a frozen space and try to inspect it and try to work backwards from that scene to figure out what's going on there. And that game had a system, I think, where you would guess who someone is in this picture, what their name was and what their job was and how they died, basically. And once you had 3, I think, that were correct, it locked them in across the whole roster, just like in this game. So it's really noticeably comparable there. And then the Case of the Golden Idol has a similar thing where it shows you the snapshot of a moment where someone died, but you can walk around an entire environment, but you're just an omniscient character that's not physically in the story. You're just like some sort of like passive observer that's somehow looking at this thing, and you're going through and you have to lock in much more granular information in that game. And then when you get an entire page of information correct, all the phrasing and whatnot, where you physically have to describe what happened in the scene, and it's a very interesting challenge. It like locks in one page at a time as you fill them in, part of which is getting everyone's names, just like this, and just like in Return of the Obra Dinn. But those are like, those games don't have they have their own limitations and strangeness, but they aren't comparable to any real life behavior all that much, because you're doing nonsense supernatural things. But this is a really normal job. Like, I'm going on the computer and Googling things, basically, although Google might not have been much of a thing in 1998 yet. And I'm looking at documents, and I'm just identifying faces, and I'm making a family tree. So the fact that there's weird limitations, like how the internet search doesn't really, like, work totally all the time, or like I can't just make a family tree fragment on this cork board and put it like over here and just not connect it to anywhere and be like, these characters have this relationship with each other, but I don't know how they fit into the overall puzzle, but I want to like keep that and maybe like drag it all over when I know where it is. Like that's a weird limitation that doesn't make sense, because that's what you would do on a cork bar like this, is you would try to build the relations and then try to connect them later with like yarn, which is also like they're literally referencing like the kind of yarn you do on like a conspiracy board and whatnot. But I can't like make separate fragments and then say how they connect later. That's weird. But above all, the weirdest thing is just the fact that like this lady's just gonna come in every like at arbitrary intervals and just give me more information that she wasn't giving me yet. Sometimes it's information that I think she's getting from scratch, but like she's still looking for it while I'm working on this in parallel. But some of it definitely feels like it's just stuff she had already, but she's like waiting for me to like hit milestones in my search, especially since she says that she's gonna specifically get back to me at specific intervals. Like how would she know how long both of us are gonna take? And then this thing's very funny, because it's just like, you can open this when you're done with everything, and I'm like, what? Why would I not be opening evidence I have on hand? That's super strange. So like you just kind of have to roll with it. Like these aren't complaints about the game. They're just amusing, extremely video gamey aspects. And like all the games I've listed are very video gamey in their own ways, but there is like a marriage of story and mechanics that's very like clean in a lot of these games. Like the person who made Return of the Obra Dinn previously made Papers, Please, and famously that game just works. Like narrative and mechanics, just moment to moment, the things you're doing are just completely diegetic and make perfect sense, and you just deal with the stress of it all in the real time. And it's a very cool game that everyone played if they were playing indie games a decade ago. This game's good. I'm not complaining about anything. I'm just like I just wanted to fully take a moment to voice the strangeness of its presentation and style before I go right back into the mystery, where there's not really a lot of time to talk about that all at length. Okay. So last time I think I kind of had wrapped up what I was working on. This is a floating mystery that I moved back and forth awkwardly. Don't know if he counts as a musician or in advertising. They kind of frame it like he moved on. So the fact that they frame it like he moved on, and he's better at doing the jingles than songs, and that he specifically made the Super Bowl ad, I think I'm supposed to interpret him as being in advertising and not as being a musician anymore, even though the specific example that the other guy that James used to describe him moving on was an example of composing music, and the jingles do count as music, and you'd be a musician. That's who you would address for that kind of thing. But yeah, our main struggle here is that Gwen has two blonde kids that look like maybe twins, but I'm not sure. And so I don't know if this is the connection that they have, because he doesn't seem blonde, and that's the kind of trait where like people can dye their hair, but like case in point. But if in a thing about resemblances or traits, like I think eye color and hair color might matter for trying to tell who is who in some cases, and those contradictions might not be very fair. But then again, like these guys, you both have brown hair, it looks like. His looks more like he's a graying dark brown to black, and she has like a more saturated sort of brown also, but it's also an album cover, so it might just be a saturated image. But both their kids are blonde. So I'm like, I mean, I could have skipped a generation from Gwen if that's her natural hair. She's an actor, so I don't know what her natural hair is especially. But I think this is a decent time to poke at one of the other names and give myself a fresh start, and let me then expand from there a bit, because we haven't finished looking at all the notable root trees yet. Like Lauren Roottree. Let's Google Lauren Roottree. Author Lauren, oh, we have a book. Author Lauren Roottree, a distant relative of the Roottrie Sisters, is known for her book, A Life Between Wars. According to a website about famous authors, in the early 1960s, Lauren released a few romance novels under her married name, Lauren Rafferty. A little fanfare. Is she the mom? Am I going to find out that she was separated from her husband? Lauren Roottree became Lauren Rafferty. Maybe she's Clark's mom. I don't know why I blanked on... When her publisher learned she had been keeping diaries about her famous family, they insisted she release them under her original name, Lauren Roottree, to take advantage of her family's notoriety. Okay, so... should probably be purging some of these pages at some point, too. Funny, this might be where I solve the mystery. Also, model parents, let's rename this to Carl. Brenda's in there also, but Brenda's not a notable character according to the game. And do I care about the sisters anymore? Because this is getting... there's a lot of tabs, so I'm like, this is the beginning of the game. I probably memorized everything that I learned here, but also it seems like it won't ever come up again. There's mostly clues about what order they go into and who one of them got involved in. I think I can delete the sisters. Get one last tab there to look back at. I have the curse here, which I don't know if this will ever be relevant because somebody just mentioned it at one point. Alright, so maybe Clark and Lauren, I mean, they have the same last name, so they're almost certainly related, because that would be really weird if they weren't. Especially since they're both specifically notable root trees, which means that they are both blood relatives, specifically. So it's not like a tangential side thing. They both are related back to the original founders, so them having the last name isn't going to be like a distant cousin or coincidence thingy. They're probably directly related to each other. I wanted to take advantage of her name, her clout. The selection of diary entries, released in 1965 as A Life Between Wars, spans the untimely death of her husband in World War II. Oh, so coping with the post-war world as a young widow and mother, as well as her perspectives on changing times and socialities all the way through the entry into Vietnam. Untimely death of her husband. Clark never met Dad. So it could be an example, because yeah, there's no indication of people dying in this family tree, which like partly because like half of them are dead, probably, or more. I don't know. I don't know how to math it. But like people die in general, so like there's no divorce. If it's not a divorce, they're just gonna be listed there like a married couple, even if they're separated. So it could be that he never met his dad, but it had nothing to do with a divorce because they died in World War II. While the content is not considered particularly relevant to modern audience, it has found new life as an exercise in high school English classes to show an evolution in writing style and for a look into life into previous generations. After the success of her diaries, her publisher re-released her romance novels under the name Lauren Roottree. This included Romance in Court, which gained popularity. She followed the release up by writing 2 new sequels, creating what fans refer to as the Court Jester series. You find no recent details about Lauren, though she's listed as retired. Highlight this name for later, and by later I mean right now mostly. But this is a lot like how I do video essays, where I often highlight or let's see. There we go. I tend to note so many things as being noteworthy that I end up with so much stuff that I end up half the time not reading through all my notes even. Published in 1968, softcover fiction romance, a romance novel by Lauren Roottree. About the author blurb mentions she had the inspiration from one of her brother Clancy's lectures on the Middle Ages. All right, so she has a brother named Clancy. which helps with the tree wherever she gets located. And he had lectures in the Middle Ages, so Lancy is a historian. History professor. That's noteworthy. You can maybe check court jester stuff. No, we don't know the names. Business Watch, County Times. We don't have a magazine that's about book releases either, so I don't currently have reason to think that I can necessarily look into these other two books. Necessarily. But I wonder if I can figure out where she goes. This looks messy. Do I have any reason to think that Clark was divorced twice? Certainly hasn't come up. He has 2 kids, or at least 2 kids. And this is Gwendolyn Morden's, so he's not gonna be over here. Maybe I was right to move him over here? Zachariah. So if this was her brother would be Zachariah, but her brother is Clancy? Which is not Zachariah, that's a different name. Should I think she's on this row? Well, she's noteworthy, so she's one of the stars. That narrows it down significantly. Does she have to be here? Should I be thinking that Rafferty... Well, we don't have confirmation that she's even married. Yeah, there's only so many stars though, yeah. So yeah, there's no stars over here, so she can't even be over here. There's only 2 options. But if she's here and Clark is her son, then where do the kids go? Because those are explicitly his kids, right? Yeah, his youngest. So this is his wife and his kids. That's explicitly the case. There's no space for kids here. There's space for kids here, but it does suggest that... Oh. Wait. His wife is unnamed. I said divorced June, but like, what was her name? June? Jane. See, he could have divorced Jane. He had a whole ass life. There's like a whole bit about how messy they were. It's probably on the computer, right? Go figure, I'm dragged back into this again. Beef baby. Him and Diamond. Diamond's Dazzlers. That's not what we're looking for. Never got much about Wild Bill Williams, but she does visit France. He probably goes there, but I just need to know his real name. Raffertoons. Like we're going for a round there. Jim Roottree interview. For most of the decade he was a mess, but he's a lot happier now. He started Raffertoons. He's a much better jingle writer than songwriter. One of the benefits of our famous family is a massive company working for a client. Diamond and I were in C&J and J&D with my cousin and his ex. Diamond walked in on Clark in bed with her youngest sister. No more family band. They don't mention Jane, and so I was like, were they with sister? But I think we had a reference to there being three sisters, one of which is never named. And I think Clark might have been sleeping with the other one, and maybe when the band exploded, specifically Clark and Jane were no longer a thing. I might finally have this down. I think he might be, because he specifically says his ex, which, whoops. This is probably Jane. Unless he's... They have a kid? Don't know. Either way, I think I can fix this a little bit. This is messy, but I might have to put Jane here simply because there's a picture, apparently. But that means they had a kid. This guy's just a messy fucker. Jessica Katrina. So did he find a new wife to take the name Rafferty LaRue? Because that's actually pretty funny. Have the to take on the mixed name, but it's from an ex-wife. Oh, there it is. That was exactly where it was wrong. Okay, I fucking got it. And Jane's locked in, so I was cried about where she goes. They also locked in James.
You're listening to WRTD.
Worded.
It's time for your headlines. Once an hour, every hour, on the 45. It's a bizarre development to an already tragic tale. In the wake of the accident that took his life, some of Carl Roottree's belongings have apparently gone missing. Most notably, a framed photo of the Roottree family from the mid-1970s that Carl had on his office wall. We interviewed a local psychologist about who would do such a thing and why. For that article, search online for WRTD News. Again, that's WRTD.
The chance to unpack the conspiracy in real time that I'm employed by? WRTD. All right, so I'm happy to be past that embarrassment of just being like not getting where it goes. Admittedly, I didn't have a lot of reason to think he was divorced twice out of 3 different spouses, but there was the hint that he was apparently a huge mess, which means we still have more of his mess to unpack. WRTD News is your local investigative jazz radio station. During their news segment at 45 minutes on the hour, they have been talking about the plane crash. This most recent hour, they also talked about a picture taken from Carl's office after the plane crash and promised an interview online with a psychologist. During the interview, it's revealed there wasn't a break-in. Instead, someone with a key to the office took the picture after discovering the pipes burst due to the recent storm. This means it was likely someone close to the family who was aware of the photo's history and wanted to save it. The psychologist, however, also goes on to posit the culprit had an alternate agenda, specifically because nobody in the family has come forward to say they have it in their possession. A comment below the article says, "Don't believe their lies. This is another instance of the Roottree curse being real. A real true thing. I bet you Carl was murdered and the picture is evidence of it." It's gonna keep documenting instances of the curse, even though it seems really irrelevant. So not much to get from this, it doesn't seem. I don't get like audio of the interview or anything. A little bit, just a new paragraph add to this, I think. Photo of Carl's generation taken in the mid. Not long before they were set to return, you heard something odd on WRTD radio. The photo you were given may have been stolen from Carl's office. The newscaster mentioned you could search online for WRTD to find more. Not that much, though. I thought we knew that already, honestly. That doesn't feel very revelatory to me. WRTD. That's not a psychologist. Is that the whole? That's all we get? I think it's just a little bit of intrigue, but not a lot to draw from overall. The hint that something's up. But otherwise, we still need to get 3 more. Okay, so there's Rafferty Clark advertising. I got that part figured out. So he had a first marriage at some point. Don't know when or who. Second marriage was Jane LaRue, and their names then became Rafferty LaRue. And then he married a third person who's actually the mother of the people who are named Rafferty LaRue, which is kind of funny because this is like the compromised name is not from where you thought it was from. So he was already married and divorced before he even joined the band, where he looks really young. There's also a LaRue child. So there's a third Rafferty LaRue. Kim LaRue. Is that the third sister? That's an interesting theory. Is Kim LaRue the third sister and third wife? That makes it sound like he married all 3 LaRues when he may have only married 2, but only has been confirmed to have married 1. But yeah, it's possible that that's Kim LaRue. I don't know if I can find anything about Kim LaRue on the internet, though. It's funny how I went to try to look into something new and then I ended up right back with this motherfucker. Which is the only thing he's not confirmed to fuck. I mean, I guess he made 2 people mothers. So I guess let's go ahead and reset everything back to default so I don't get confused about why it's listed that way later. No. Okay, so we got to figure out who your fucking kids are. These punk asses. Not much of a way of like sorting things by how important they are. This helps, I guess, but like I can't like visually organize this table at all. If you've been wondering about that, I've tried to drag things around a little bit, and you can't actually do anything on the screen. besides click on things, and they're just kind of in the order they want to be in. Okay, so there's 2 kids, Gwyn and the boys. And what gets me there is that Gwyn was in a relationship with Wild Bill Williams. But then we go through these names. You can't name anyone Williams. Which suggests that they kept her name. And it's not a group name. Like, seemingly every name is just already in the pool somehow, and we just have to accept that, even though it doesn't make that much sense, because we're not discovering the names. You would think you'd have to discover the names as you go. Like, it is borderline a flaw of the game that you can, like, kind of process elimination, the stuff, by just knowing what names are available, but you didn't, like, discover the names as you go. For context, I've played the Case of the Golden Idol and the Rise of the Golden Idol and all of their DLCs, and those are games where you investigate, and you have to physically move around the scene and click on things to even gain the words for them. It's like you have to discover names from scratch on some kind of document, or someone saying it somewhere in the scene, and then you click on that name and it enters your list, your pool of names. Here we just have every name immediately, which is a little weird. It's kind of like how when I played the game Nia, which was a Riven-like attempt to make a spiritual successor to Riven. But that game had an inventory, and in particular, one of the inventory screens just had every item that you'll ever need for a particular category of thing. It just had like 20 orbs just in your inventory almost immediately in the game, and you just walked around with all 20 of them, and you just slowly walked around the entire environment and found where all of them go. But it's like, it didn't make sense that you had all of them up front. It also didn't make sense that you had perfectly every one that you would need to finish the campaign. Like, there weren't like leftovers or any missing ones you had to find later. Like, you literally just had all of them, which is like, why would there just be a bag of all of the exact items you'll need to solve the game? It's like starting a puzzle game by finding a bag of keys, and every key goes to a specific door. Like, it's not a supply of small keys in Zelda, but it's very specifically the key to the auditorium, the key to the arcade, and so on. And then you spend each of those keys one by one to get into one of those rooms, and you're like, shouldn't I be finding these? Shouldn't that be integrated in the game some way? Like, why is this a puzzle game that gives me keys the same way that like a RPG DLC will give you the key item that lets you access the DLC the moment you load into the game? Because they didn't have an elegant way of doing that. Like Dark Souls 2 having 3 DLCs, and you just kind of magically have 3 keys that pop in your inventory when you load the game, and then when they did the re-release, they integrated those 3 keys into the environment, because that's obviously better and makes more sense, and it's what everyone would expect. But that game bizarrely didn't do that. Alright, so the game locked in Morden James, which is good. It did not lock in the other name I put in, though. Oh yeah, Zachariah Morden. That's because... yeah, James Morden's locked in because they're not important. But Zachariah Morden, I have to have their name. Same thing for Gwendolyn Morden. Morden! Morden, I need your help, Morden! A timely reference. Timely reference! I don't even know if that show's still going, or where I left off. Rick and Morty pisses me off. Not because of what it is, but because if you look at the list of episodes, and you try to tell where the fuck you left off 3 years ago, every single title is incomprehensible, and every description of every episode is incomprehensible. So like the episode descriptions don't accurately describe what happens in the episode in even a vague way. So you genuinely can't tell what happens in a season that you've partially watched or whatever. So I just genuinely can't figure out where I left off without just like re-watching seasons of it or something, and that's too much work. Okay, so Kim LaRue. I wanted to know more about this family. I want to know more about this lady's kids. Who is Gwen's mom? Do we know? I don't know if we know much more about Gwen, but she has 2 sons who might all, which I think we might have confirmed are not in that other. Okay, they don't have bonus pictures, so they're only in this picture, and any resemblances here are, I was gonna say coincidental, but they're familial. They're literally the same family. That guy has a funny tie. and that guy's name is Eli. So one of the people of the generation is named Eli. Oh, we wait. Okay, 1 second. I'm looking for stars real quick. Stars. That star's not filled in. Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay, so this is Lauren, who I consider, yeah, Clark's mom. This is probably, so this is Lauren. Lauren Roottree, who married a Rafferty named Chris or Jacob. I'm not gonna guess, because that's rude. We didn't get physical evidence of Lauren at all, right? We don't know what she looks like. Who is Wolf again? One of Jim's kids. I assume I already have that filled in. Yeah, he's already confirmed. Okay. So this should be Lauren Roottree. Oof. Okay, there's 3 people, and one of those 3 people is named Clancy. They're some kind of lecturer. I don't think we have any idea who that is yet. Yeah, I don't generally expect to find anything about these people, because the whole point is that the Googleable people are the ones with stars. There's some exceptions, but usually not. Did I actually look at A Life Between Wars, or did I skip straight to Romance in Court? I think I might have blanked and not done that. Published 1965, hardcover student edition, republished 1993. Oh, I'm getting stuff. Oh yeah, this is... Boy, did I fuck up. I accidentally went past this one. Non-fiction. But it's cool. We went on a tangent where I finally solved the mystery from earlier. Holy fuck, how much 7 documents? Okay, I just blew this whole case wide open. It seems you've hit the jackpot here. This is a book occasionally taught in schools. You even find a hardcover edition for students that has full-page, high-quality pictures in it. The summary of the contents of the book's photos, as well as some particularly relevant entries from the diary, have been added to your evidence. This is like, Umbrella Academy shit. The one family member that, like, wrote a whole thing about their own family and then everyone's mad at them over that. Man. The first season of that show was so good. The last season of it was so bad. Holy shit. Unfathomably bad. Terrible season. And the rest of it was pretty shaky, but there was some decent points. They handled Elias coming out pretty well. A Life Between Wars. Excerpts from Diaries of a Roottree. Schoolbound Publishing. Is that like multiple pages right here that are all the same document? Is that why they're... Because I only saw like 3 things that are highlighted as new, but it says that there was 7, so this might be 5. Oh yeah, that makes sense. 5 and here would all count. Okay. The below are notes and observations you made while skimming through Lauren Roottree's While skimming through Lauren Roottree's diary pages in A Life Between Wars. Lauren Roottree is of the notable Roottrees list in your evidence. You might go ahead and it's probably her. It's probably him. I'll probably find out his name here. The book was published in 1965 and consists of diary entries that stretch from 1940 to 1965. The most important event that much of the diary and Lauren's thoughts revolve around was the loss of her husband, Jacob. Yeah, Jacob Rafferty. He's super dead. I don't know why I'm saying it like this. Author. She should be an author. Maybe she has a new job because she's listed as retired, so it might mean that I need to find her new job. Jacob died in the final months of World War II while Lauren was pregnant. This left her to raise her son Clark alone. Lauren never remarried and only had one child. By skimming the page of the diary, you glean the following information. She was the granddaughter of Elias and Gwyneth on her father's side. This is a dude. Can't gender people though. Like I can't be like, this is Dr. Man, the man of the doc. Yeah, so granddaughter, that makes sense. This is a guy, and that's a lady, but I'm not gonna remember that lady letter probably, which is why I should highlight it. Highlight that for Lauren. Her mother's family was called the Cossells, but she hardly ever mentions them. Cossells. Sarah Cassell. There we go. Well, now that helps me with the gender bit. 'Cause that's locked in. Her father, who she always referred to as Pop, was the head lawyer. Ah, I accidentally left that page. Damn it. Lawyer. It feels redundant to highlight things that I'm confirming in the document, but at the same time, if I don't highlight them, lawyer, if I don't highlight them, then I'm at risk of like changing it later when I can't figure out why I locked a certain thing in. So I think it's better to over document, and then once I'm totally done with the section, maybe just delete the page eventually. Her father, who she always referred to as Pop, was the head lawyer for the Roottree Company, the Roottree Candy Company, and helped write a legal document called Clanced Trust. Clanced Trust. I assume that's not on the internet. Nope. The Clanced, pronounced Clanced. Clanced. The Clanced Trust is a highly unusual corporate arrangement named after Clancy Edward Roottree. Clancy Edward Roottree. So one of you, because Lauren has a sibling named Clancy also, so one of you is Clancy Jr. then. And update that. You can see how slowly I'm going through the stuff. This is the agonizingly slow pace I go through because I'm trying to mine every piece of evidence I can. Alright, so I should just update this highlight to be able to... The problem with this document is that every single line is probably worth highlighting. So I just start to feel insane a little bit. It's clear from the context that the Rootrees have internal shorthand names for the different generations of their family. Lauren uses them often. 5 pieces. The first generation of children by Gwyneth and Elias. Lauren's father was in this generation. The next generation, Lauren's generation. The Free Spirits, the generation after Lauren's, including her son. That's... yeah, I saw that. Because this document is called The Free Spirits. A very helpful completionist photo. So maybe there's a similar photo for... oh, there's one of them right there. There's the next generation. I don't think I need to highlight that bit. I literally have example photos. Oh, there's the... oh, yeah, they gave me the 5 pieces and the next generation. Okay, I'm gonna go on a detour and look at these guys for a second. And we'll get back to the super document in a... oh, what the fuck? Alright. Bit of an age gap amongst this generation, huh? Let's see. I was gonna say, well, they did all have to be born from the same, they did have to all be born from the same couple, but I don't know if that justifies the gauge gap more or less, because everybody else is like, you'd expect more dissonance amongst other people. Having trouble clicking on their faces. There we go. That looks like actress Black Widow, who also is in every Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Is that his name? I've seen. I've been watching with my little movie club. We watched a whole bunch of them in a row recently, and she's just really consistently in them. What is her name? She was She was an AI voice, and also Major, which was controversial. It's just all right. So he's so fucking happy. Look at him. She's not even looking in the right direction. She kind of doesn't look like she's looking in the right direction either. People weren't used to cameras back then. They're just like, yeah, how long do I have to fucking sit here? Just sort of spacing out. These two are just so into it. They're so ready, and everyone else is like, this is not a great smile either. Like she's just kind of like, it kind of looks like she's like, how long do I have to hold this? And she's just checked out, and he's just like, he doesn't know where he's supposed to look. He's just wrong. Anyway. Lauren's diary contains some labeled pictures. This is the 5 pieces. Caption, this picture was famous in our... Caption, this picture was famous in our house. Pop even had it framed. That's him on the left. Ah. I have to document these things immediately or I'll forget. There you go. So we know his face. I guess we know his everything. If I get one more person, they'll probably lock in. And also their spouses will lock in. It was taken in 1935 to celebrate the move to the new warehouse that Eli Jr. designed. It's going to be helpful for documenting the faces of these generations that, like, in some cases they're literally all the same color because the photos age, so you can tell what row they're supposed to be in. The new warehouse that Eli Jr. designed. That's interesting, because the original Papa is Elias, so they probably named their oldest son Eli Jr., but not you, because you married James Morden, so you're a lady, so you should be Eli Jr. Yeah, Elias Jr., Roottree. There you go. That's a reasonable assumption, because they're oldest to youngest, and the tradition is usually that you name your oldest the junior, and instead of like one of the other ones later. But that could be wrong. I could 100% be wrong. Documenting my thought process here that I just said, just to explain why I did things to future me, because that guy's gonna be fucked. Okay, so that's Pop. Yeah, so that's like an even younger kid. I don't think this youngest kid designed the place. So that's actually probably Eli Jr. I can reasonably assume that's his face. He's also probably an architect because he designed a warehouse. Hey! Look at me go. I'm mining the information. I'm sure people are like, well, then what's up with all these moments where you don't get any of the information you should figure out? What's wrong with you? Like, I'm so... Why human being with flaws be selectively perceptive? That's weird. I can't cope with the... There's a weird little pixel right here. Oh no, I can't unsee it. There's a pixel right here. It's a perfect rectangle. And then it gets 1 pixel wider right here, and then it gets narrower again right here. This is the kind of shit that I agonize over when I make thumbnails sometimes, and then I can't fix it, and then I give up. It happens here also. But here, I don't see it get thinner again. So I don't know if it's actually the rectangles being imperfectly cropped, or if they're somehow like being displayed here in a skewed way that leads to them getting aliased a bit. Like this one's tilted that way, but then the left sides are all perfect. None of the left sides have a pixel out of place. Shouldn't they be equally distorted? I don't know. Like, I'm not questioning their name tags. Their name tags are clearly like crinkled. They're just kind of just shit up with them all over. But that looks like it's supposed to be perfectly rectangular, and then there's a little fuck up. Anyway, no one cares. But I've got problems. Is she calling this time?
So, you may have heard the news. Some of Carl's things have gone missing. That includes the pictures and mail I brought you earlier. I promise I didn't steal it.
I mean, yeah, they said that you had the key, so you just walked in.
But I did borrow it. I'll return it once we're done. Let me deal with my family in the meantime. Oh, I guess that means I've officially confessed. I'm a Roottree. I assure you I have a reasonable explanation for the secrecy. I'm about to do something big the family doesn't approve of. If you could just wait a little bit longer, I'll tell you more. In person. I'll return after 15 more blood relatives.
I feel like I'd accept it a little bit more if they just didn't have her say out loud how many blood relatives, and instead, she'd be like, I'll be back later, and then this little meter just non-diegetically just kind of magically knows when she'll be back to give us a hint. Wow, she wants me to find like as many as I have found so far since, not you, since the original 3. Damn. All right, well, let's double our progress next episode. It'll be easy. I do feel like I'm actually making decent time. Maybe. I don't know. I do spend half of the time talking, which really slows you down. I have to explain every thought that I have, whereas other people just think and immediately do. Although, presenting for an audience and narrating probably helps me organize my thoughts, and people that aren't doing that and might be just kind of zoning out or multitasking and so on might actually struggle to focus enough, and it might cause its own problems. So who knows?